Hey nerds, what's up? Today's video is going to be an unhaul. If you haven't watched yesterday's vlog yet, I did reorganize my bookshelves, and I did ask some questions about like, should I keep the Study in Charlotte series? I have the first two, and then I was thinking about getting rid of Six of Crows. I don't think I own Crooked Kingdom, but I've read Six of Crows. It's not 100% for me, so if you haven't checked that video out yet, go ahead and do so if you're interested, and also let me know in the comments below if I should get rid of those two book/series. But before we get into the unhaul, I do have one book that just came in the mail today, so I wanted to show it off. So I got Crystal Clear Reflections on Extraordinary Talismans for Everyday Life by Jaya Saxena, and this was sent to me by Quirk Books. So thank you to Quirk Books. I feel like I am saying that weird. Quirk Books. Thank you to them and Jaya. I'm really interested in checking this out. I think I did request this if I remember correctly. So it's all about like crystals and stuff. Again, if you haven't watched my bookshelf reorganization, or if you have, I guess I should say, if you have watched my bookshelf reorganization, you might have noticed that I do have some crystals on there. I know some like very basic things, but I did request this when the book thing, like the request went out, because I really want to get to know more about crystals and stuff. So thank you. And it's such a pretty cover. Pretty. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the unhaul. So I have some books. You can see some of them right here, but let's just go into this. So this is vaguely organized into some categories. So I'm going to start with the young adult contemporaries. And basically, like, all of these books I'm getting rid of simply because they're no longer catching my interest. Most of them, there's a mix of books that I have read and that I haven't read, or that I've read the first one, but this is the sequel and stuff like that. So, yeah, we'll get into it if there's anything more significant in that. But the first book I have here is This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales. I do know that this used to be one of Emma from Emma Books, one of her favorite books. I don't know if it still is considered on her list, but I bought it from like Book Outlet, you can tell by the little black spot, because of her, and then I just never got to it, and I'm no longer interested in this type of book. This is about a girl named Elise. She's going to work on this really important project, except that she fails and everything falls to pieces. Now her social life is even worse than it was before, until she stumbles into an underground dance club and opens the door to a world she never knew existed. So it's like about a teenager finding herself, which is cute and all, but it's not my cup of tea anymore these days. So I'm gonna get rid of that. I have read this one, and it's Rose Tainted Skies by Louise Gournal. This book is about a girl named Nora. She fears everything from inland tsunamis to odd numbers, which is irrational, but she can't stop being afraid, and she's a bit afraid of leaving the house. It's about this girl who basically has agoraphobia, and then the next door neighbor, Luke, is the love interest, and it was cute. I just felt like I had seen it done like quite a few times when I read it, so it wasn't like overwhelmingly amazing, and again, it'll find a better home elsewhere. I've read this next book as well. This is Heretics Anonymous by Katie Henry. This book is about a boy who ends up having to go to a like super Catholic school, and he's not religious at all, and he finds this group of people who consider themselves heretics in the school, and so they have this secret club, and it's kind of about each of them have something going on, whether it's like they love the religion of Catholicism, but there's like one girl that really wants to be a priest, and that's not allowed in Catholicism, and that's like wrong, that she thinks, and then he's an atheist, and they each have their own thing, and it's kind of about them finding that they do have similarities within their different belief systems. And it was good, but it wasn't amazing, and again, better home elsewhere. The next book I have not yet read, but it is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. This book is about a girl whose best friend, I think, passes away before the beginning of the novel, and now she has this list that her best friend gave her to complete. And it's just one of those things that I used to be really into, and Morgan Matson was like the author to be reading in contemporary young adult at the time that I bought this, and now I just don't care anymore. So we're getting rid of it. One book that I have read is Simon and versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. Now, I did really, really like this. This is such a fun book, but I don't see myself ever rereading it. I do love the movie as well, and I feel like I would be way more likely to watch it again rather than read it again, just because it was a really good adaptation, and like it takes less time to watch a movie. So with that said, I feel like it would be better on somebody else's shelf or somebody else who can read it and find, you know, some good representation for themselves if they wanted that. So that's why I'm getting rid of this one. The next one I have here is Girl Last Seen by Heather Anastasio and Anne Greenwood Brown. This is a book about a girl named Cadence who is a singer-songwriter, and she starts getting famous, and then she suddenly goes missing, and it's a thriller. Haven't read it, and just frankly, every time I see it on my shelf, I'm like, what is that book again? And then I have to read the back, so clearly I'm not that interested. I also have Side Effects May Vary. It's upside down. Side Effects May Vary by Julie Murphy. This one is like one of the only ones in this list that I'm like, should I keep this? Because I do really like Julie Murphy's writing. I haven't read this yet. I do know that my friend Bailey, my co-host of my podcast, she owns this book, so like worst case scenario, I could borrow it from her if I decided that I wanted to read it. But even though I love Julie, so this is the thing with Julie Murphy's writing too, is that none of her plot synopsis, like cover explanations, really ever like catch me. But with that said, every time I've picked up one of her books, I have really, really enjoyed it. So has anybody read this, and how did you like it, and do you think I should keep it? So this is one of the ones that I'm going to set to the side, and you tell me if I need to change my mind. The next book I have here is 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. We all know this book. We all know the TV show. I personally don't hate either the book or the TV show. I thought the TV show to begin with was really good. It's now gone like way too weird, and I'm not going to keep watching it, but this book is about a girl named Hannah, and she records 13 tapes and then sends them out after she commits suicide. So this is a big trigger warning for suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts, rape, trauma, abuse, lots of stuff. This is one of those ones that has a lot of controversy, and I don't personally think that this book or movie or TV show, whatever, is terrible, but I don't ever think I'll ever read it again. Similar to Homo Sapiens Agenda, like if I ever wanted to get back into this story, I would just rewatch the TV show. But it's also such a significant, like, heavy book that I don't know if I ever would be interested in doing that either. So I'm gonna get rid of it. I don't feel like I need it on my shelf. The next book is Give the Dark My Love by Beth Revis. I saw death itself. It was a feral thing made of smoke and shadow. It was hollow and empty and hungry. This book is about a 17-year-old Nedra Bristain leaves her home in the rural northern territory of Lunar Island to attend the prestigious Eugen Academy with only one goal in mind: master the trade of medicinal alchemy. A scholarship student matriculating with the children of Lunar Island's wealthiest and most powerful families, Nedra doesn't quite fit in with the other kids at Eugen. This feels like a fantasy version of a secret society story, and I just have realized that I don't care. So this doesn't sound up my alley anymore. If for some reason you were to tell me, like, Cassie, you're really, really missing out if you didn't read this, I might consider taking it back to my shelf, but like, probably gonna get rid of it. Two books we are moving into an adult section of the contemporary are Colleen Hoover, Confess and Ugly Love. I haven't read them. I've only read a couple Colleen Hoovers, and this was back in the time when, like, Colleen Hoover was everything everyone wanted, and so I just kept buying them up when I found them on sale. And since then, it's just like, I don't care to read her. Like, the books that I have read by her are just fine. I've read Maybe Someday, and I read another one, I don't remember which, but like, why is she as popular as she is? I don't know. I've read better romantic adult. I've read better. So I'm going to get rid of these. So now moving into more fantasy side of things, even though we did have one random fantasy in there. I have Empress of All Seasons by Amiko Jean. I have read this book. This was one of the Bibliothon choices back when we were doing that. This is a fantasy novel, and it has like seasonal, it's like a competition novel. It was really interesting. I thought it was just fine though. Like, I don't even know if there is a series, but if there was, I didn't plan on continuing. And again, I think somebody else could get something out of this rather than keeping it on my shelf. Okay, this one is another controversial one. It's The Bane Chronicles by Cassie Clare. I haven't read this yet. I've had this on my shelf for so very long, and I do have a lot of the Cassandra Clare books on my shelves. I have The Infernal Devices, and I have Mortal Instruments, and I have Lady Midnight and Lord of Shadows. I don't think I have Queen of Nothing yet, though. And I like her books, don't get me wrong. Like, I do always enjoy myself when I'm reading them, and I think her writing has gotten better and better and better. But part of what makes me nervous about even trying this at this point is that now that I've read, like, the most recent books, I tend to find, like, City of Bones not as good, because her writing has just improved that significantly, in my opinion. So I don't know if I want to, like, even try this, even though I did used to want this. So I think this is another one I'm going to put over here. But I just know that you'll tell me to keep it. Like, so this is kind of, I'm torn. Okay, I'm torn on that one. But moving on. I also have Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is a fantasy novel that I have read, and it was fine. It felt a lot of had been done before. A lot of the tropes and things that happen, I felt like had been done before. The most amazing part of the story is that there is some really badass representation in here. We have a female lead who is Black, and you have a lot of, like, cultural significance of, like, and if I remember correctly, it's North African historical significance of, like, the history that she chose to keep and weave within the fantasy section of this novel, which is amazing. And I'm so very glad that this book exists. I just didn't think that it was anything, the plot itself, I didn't find super special. And with that, I think somebody else would find more, like, love for this book than I did. So I'm going to put this over in my to-go pile. I also have the first two books in the Wayward Children series. If you've been watching my videos since I started making one every single day for Vlogmas, you'll know that me and Shannon McGuire don't get along very well. By that I mean her writing, obviously not herself. I'm sure she's a lovely person. But yes, these books are just, they're fine. Like, I don't understand the hype. I don't know why everyone is obsessed with them. I'm glad that you love them, but I just am always disappointed. And for these two books, I thought that I was disappointed mostly because they're very small. And so I felt like they were not fully and complete, and like they could have given me so much more. I felt like something was missing. And then I read her novel, Middle Game, and it was also feeling lacking. So with that, I'm going to get rid of these. Somebody's clearly going to love finding these in a used bookstore, so they're gonna get off of my shelves. I also have The Mermaid by Christina Henry. This is a mermaid book. Once there was a mermaid called Amelia who could never be content in the sea, a mermaid who longed to know all the world and all its wonders, and so she came to live on land. Once there was a man called P.T. Barnum. So this is the P.T. Barnum book. It's about the circus. He finds a mermaid. I would hope that this would have some, like, really dark things that happen in it. Honestly, until I reread the back of this, I was, like, totally content to get this off my shelf. But now that I've read the back, I kind of want to read it. So I'm going to put this over here again. If you've read it and, like, it's terrible, please let me know. But if you've read it and it's amazing, also please let me know. Next, I have Armada by Ernest Cline. This is the next series that Ernest Cline made, which I just realized that he made a Ready Player 2, and, like, we didn't need that, in my opinion, but okay. So this is another, like, very on par for Ernest Cline's first story, Ready Player 1. We have a kid named Zach, and he suddenly sees the UFO that is from a video game, and it's, like, come to life and whatever. It's just not for me anymore. Goodbye. I also have The Remedy. I don't know why I only have The Remedy. I think I got rid of the program in a previous Unhaul. These books are just, not my cup of tea anymore. So this is a like sci-fi futuristic dystopian novel where all of the teenagers all around the world are having this significant rise in suicide, and they go to the program and they go to the treatment, and this is the remedy, the third book, all about like fixing this epidemic, which is weird because now we're in a pandemic. Yeah, and it's just, the first one was good when I read it, but it's not my style anymore these days, so goodbye. I'm also getting rid of The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I liked this book when I read it. It's a historical fiction, and it has LGBTQ rep in it. It's about this kid named Monty who is like high class society, and he basically doesn't want to become in charge, like he doesn't want to grow up, so he goes on this like adventure with his best friend, and they get into like nefarious things, and there's a romance, and his sister comes along too, I think, and it was good at the time. It's not my cup of tea anymore. It's like too young for me now. I also have Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman. This is an adult fantasy novel. This is about Callum, a knot, a second-class citizen in a society run by ruling crosses, and Sephi is a cross and daughter of the man slated to become prime minister. In their world, white knots and black crosses simply don't mix, and they certainly don't fall in love. But that's exactly what they've done. When they were younger, they played together, and now as they grow up, there's a romance. So this book is basically about, like, a slave or servant falling in love with the person that is in charge of that manor, but the races are swapped, and it's also like fictional, so not everything is quite our history, but like it's very based on our history. And even though that sounded really interesting, I also felt like I would have rather just read a historical fiction novel about that rather than this. So I'm getting rid of this. I also have Rebel Belle and Miss Mayhem, which are 2 books in the Rebel Belle series, I believe, by Rachel Hawkins. Honestly, like, I don't even know what this is about anymore. Harper Price, peerless Southern belle, was born ready for a homecoming tiara. But after a strange run-in at the dance, Harper's destiny takes a turn for the seriously weird. She's imbued with the powers of a paladin, a guardian with agility, super strength, and lethal fighting instincts. And I just don't care anymore. The last book that I'm getting rid of is a poetry collection, Poets of the New Century. I got this like for $1 at the used bookstore, and I was trying to be into like classic literature and stuff, and trying to like open my reading tastes, and I just don't care. So I'm getting rid of it. And those are the books I'm getting rid of this time around. I was trying to be as hardcore and ruthless as I could because we are moving in a couple months, and so like I'm trying to spring clean in the winter and like get rid of things that we really don't need. So books are included in that. Like I said, if any of these are just like an absolute necessity to keep, then please let me know. But otherwise, I'll be getting rid of those too. And then also for those 2 series, the Six of Crows, I'm not even asking you. I'm getting rid of the Six of Crows as well because I just don't care. And then the other one is the Study in Charlotte. So that one, please let me know. Is it worth the read? Tell me in the comments. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. If you're still with me, what is the most recent unhaul that you've done? What book have you read that you just were like, that can go, for whatever reason? And let me know in the comments down below what the reason is too, if you don't mind. And with that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. Bye.